Yo, what's good? It's your boy Dot from Dot Me Now Coaching and Entertainment for coaching my links are down below. In today's video, we are going to be talking about soul creations and inspiration and how all creations are essentially inspired and how there's not really anything new that gets created because the potential for a certain creation already exists at all times, and different souls just get inspired to actually express this potential. Now, if that sounds good to you, I would like to ask that you like this video, subscribe if you're new, and if you see the option to, I would like to also ask that you hype up this video as well. Without further ado, let's get into today's video. Alright, so the reason why I am making this video is kind of just to expand your perspective on all the different things that go into a soul wanting to create something. Because it's all based upon inspiration, right? Let's start off with source, right? Source exists beyond all creation, right? You can't really define source because source essentially made all things, including every single concept possible. So if I try to use concepts to describe source, it will always be somewhat distorted. Think about it like this. If I had a child, right? You wouldn't define me by my child. You could say that I am my child's dad, right? Source is the source of creation, right? But you cannot say that source is the child. You can't say that source is creation. Source can manifest as creation, but the true nature of source transcends it. You can't define me by you can't, like, let's say that my kid is named Jerry. You can't say that I am Jerry. No, my kid is Jerry. You cannot say that source is a concept because source made the concept. You see? Source is the source of all creation. Source is that which transcends all things. Those are some of the most accurate descriptions I could give. In order to truly understand source, you must become one with source. Now, the thing is, you are a source. You are a certain perspective of source, right? You are that great intelligence. I don't want to say it's beyond intelligence. You just are that great source. You are that, right? And understand that every single potential for creation already existed inside a source. All source did was manifest its potential as creation. But every single kind of creation which can be made already existed inside a source. So when source manifested itself, right, at some point it became infinity, right? It just became infinite potential manifesting itself, right? So every single thing that we can make is contained also inside that infinite potential. Now, when this infinite potential manifested, you had primordials that manifested out of infinity. They manifested out of chaos because infinite potential is chaotic because there's no order. Infinity has no structure to it, right? I actually explained this in my video called Creation and Control Structures. But infinity has no structure to it, right? And the thing is, when I mention primordials, you are essentially a part of that because in order for you to even get here, you had to form yourself out of infinity. It's just that when you did it, you kind of did it in a group with other beings, right? Or you did it in a group with other eternal spirits because although you are a soul right now, the highest nature of who you are is an eternal spirit, right? So primordials are just super giant clumps of eternal spirits, right? Then you have oversouls. Oversouls. So pretty much a oversoul is just a clump of eternal spirits. Every single eternal spirit still has their own individuality. Although, if an eternal spirit wanted to, they could merge themselves with the other eternal spirits and act as one unified force and then choose to split off again. Remember, free will is a thing. And with free will, you can do whatever the fuck you want to do. You know what I'm saying? So with that being said, right, and then a primordial, which is pretty much an omni soul, those are groups of oversouls. And since the oversoul is just a whole bunch of eternal spirits, that's what also an omnisoul is. It's just a greater group of eternal spirits, right? An eternal spirit is what you truly are on that individual level, right? It's just that when you were forming out of infinity, you did it with other eternal spirits. For example, if you have an infinite number line, right? The numbers 1 through 10 might be a part of a certain group. Now, the number 1, the number 2, the number 3, so on and so forth, these are all individual numbers. They just came as a group with with the number. So like number 1 came out in the same group as number 2, number 3, number 4. Same with 11 through 20, right? All those numbers are individuals. They just are part of the same group though, right? So when I say a primordial, that's essentially still you. It's just you when you're also a part of a group of other eternal spirits, but you still have your individuality and you still had your own individual experience. It's kind of just like, imagine that Source is like a giant womb, right? And that when Source gave birth, it was just infinite potential coming out that womb, right? The group that you came out with, you could say, it's like you were kind of just next to them inside the womb. You were still an individual inside the womb. You were just next to that other eternal spirit as well, right? So with that being said, I'm saying this because these primordials, which includes you, right? These primordials actually made an omniversal template. They made a template for creation because creation couldn't be a thing without order. Before order, it was just infinite chaos. There was no creation. It was just infinite potential until these primordials formed out of the chaos and decided that, yo, if we make a certain sense of structure, we can now form these different creations, right? So inside the ninth plane of existence, there is literally a divine omniversal template. There is a template for all creations, right? And every single creation that has ever been made and will ever be made comes from this template. Now understand, infinity is infinite. This infinite potential is still manifesting itself right now, which means that the template is always being updated if you want to see things linearly. If you want to go outside of linear time, then everything has already happened. It's like the infinite potential has already manifested, and that potential is now structured inside of that divine omniversal template. But it's technically always still happening because Source has infinite potential, and that infinite potential is always manifesting. It's just that as the infinite potential manifests, it has to get structured into some form so that way that infinite potential can actually become a structured creation. Now, when it comes to becoming a soul, right? When you are a soul, right, you can create things. But every single thing that you create, it's not like you just made up a certain idea. It might seem like that, but really you're just inspired, right? So when it comes to the different beings that made this physical construct, by the way, today's video on Patreon is literally all about how the physical construct got created, right? How different beings got inspired and then eventually made this physical construct, because when people leave the physical construct, they end up on plane number 5 because that is where this construct was made from. But we do understand that, wait, we are inside of plane number 1. So what happened on planes 2, 3, what happened on planes 2, 3, and 4 to even get us on plane number 1? Because the physical plane is plane number 1, right? Although this whole entire construct was made from plane number 5. What happened in between? I talk about that on Patreon. It's a very good video and it makes a lot of sense. I promise you, if you watch that video, you're going to know that it makes sense. So with that being said, right, when it comes to these different beings that made this earthly construct, right, we need to understand that this construct was the first of its kind, but And you could see it as these beings did something new, but it's not like they made the idea per se. They were just inspired to do this because the template for this earthly construct, the idea for it always existed. It always existed inside a source. Before source manifested, that concept was always inside a source. The concept for this earthly construct was also always within inside of that infinite potential. And before it could manifest right now how it is currently, it had to at first become a part of the divine universal template inside of the ninth plane of existence. Inside of this divine universal template, the idea for this kind of a creation already existed. Different beings just got inspired to actually manifest it. And it's like that with all creation. Every single creation which a soul makes, which includes you, you're just inspired to do it. Whenever you have a new idea, even inside the physical reality right now, when you have a new idea, you're not actually thinking anything new. You're just inspired by that. You just got inspired, right? That's what's really happening with manifestation. When you manifest, you don't really create anything. You just align with the intelligence behind that reality. It always existed, you just aligned with it. So this earthly construct always existed, it just was never manifested until certain beings got inspired to actually do it. And why is this important? Because it gives you honestly, one of the main importances is just understanding that broader perspective. But it's important because you understand that all creation that happens is divine. It's all divinely inspired. It was always going to happen, and that's why it happened. It's all inspiration. You feel me? So I'm gonna keep it. I'm gonna end it there, right? I love you. I'm gonna catch you. Peace. The freak out. You smell me?